Sales sabotage, the danger of ego in your business. In the world of sales where egos thrive and careers falter, well, guess what? That happens all too frequently than we all would like to accept. You've got sales veterans that have been in the industry for 10 years, 20 years, but they stop growing after their third year of sales. I mean, that's what happens. It happens when the ugly face of ego surfaces. Like, believe me, it kills everything it touches. Talent, growth, careers, success. Guys, I can't believe, I just realized it the other day. I cannot believe I am 14 videos in this new channel and I have not covered this topic yet. This video, the sole purpose of this video is to educate you guys and show you the warning signs to be alert of that shitty ego. Because the reality is, most of the times we don't even see it. We don't even know it's there until it actually surfaces and it blows over. Stick around to the end of this one because you just may need to check yourself before you fucking wreck yourself. Boom! 90s throwback. All right, fact. Egos developed, it surfaces from your initial success in something. That is correct. Like if you look at the realm of sales, ego is fueled by success. Like it may have happened to you, like when individuals hitting certain benchmarks in their career, like maybe they go from 10K a month if you're online sales, or you're selling fitness online, you're building your coaching business, or you go from 20K months to 30K to 50K, all the way to the little old 7 figures or whatever you're at times that can lead to entitlement. That's right, my little high ticket muffins. If it's not handled well, success could breed entitlement. And you're probably thinking, Scott, okay, well, what's wrong with a little bit of entitlement when we've achieved, we've grown, we've done the thing, we've hit the mark, we got shit done? Well, in the sales arena, entitlement didn't get you to success. It just didn't. Entitlement didn't make that salesperson successful. Being humble, learning, being open, that's the type of momentum that makes you dangerous in what you do. It's like when you don't have an ego, you're tenacious. It's like you accept, you have to learn, you will do whatever it takes, you will grind, you will do everything required to get you up there because you're down there right now, but you know you can get there and you're open, you're willing to just whatever has to happen, you're ready to learn, you're ready to apply yourself. You accept growth, you're willing to learn and development. You welcome that with open arms, development. Like you have that whatever it takes mindset. That's what's going to make you successful. You take it back to the whatever it takes. That's the core substance makes you unstoppable. But then you bring in entitlement, that stops the whole train. Entitlement is nasty for your career. All right, I'm going to share another one of my comparisons. Conor McGregor. Any McGregor fans out there or haters, they're going to back me up on this one. And for anyone not living in the same star system as ours, when Conor arrived in the UFC, he blew up. He was Dana White's future and it was unfolding. And when Conor just stormed through, like Conor put UFC on a whole different level on the map. That would be an understatement. He changed the landscape for UFC and MMA for like literally forever. Like he ran to the top of that mountain. And his story inspired all of us. The guy literally was a handyman turned fucking superstar, like a champion, a blue-collared hero. His story began in Ireland as he actually worked as a plumber when he was a kid. And so he quit the plumbing profession so he could train mixed martial arts like just full time. Literally just a regular guy trying to make ends meet for his wife and his baby at the time. There was a time clearly where he just said, fuck it, I'm quitting and I'm just going for it. You know, I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to do things on my own terms. You've been there, right? You've been there before. I've been there. And he did. This kid came out of nowhere and he worked his ass off. You know, he trained, he was doing MMA full time. He worked his ass off. You know, it's crazy as the story goes, like when he quit that job and went full in and just training at the gym doing MMA, like they didn't have a lot of money. Apparently he was on welfare. She supported him to the best of her ability, bless her, you know, but like that takes balls, especially when they're that young. Like they literally had nothing. And so he started out with nothing. They started out with nothing. And he focused on becoming a world champion and to finally make it in the UFC. And he did this with insane work ethic. He remembers talking about like his level of obsession and that it was like almost borderline insane, you know, and he talked about that. He's like, you gotta sometimes get that obsessed, you know, like you're going past the boundaries, like that you shouldn't be going past those boundaries mentally. I'm like, fuck, I'm not right in the head here, but I'm going for it. You're going past that. Most people, they wouldn't go, like normal people won't go past those type of boundary limits. Well, he fucking did. So over a few years, you know, Conor made it to the UFC. And once he arrived in the UFC, he just ran these guys over. Like he ran everyone over. Anyone in front of him, he demolished. You know, people didn't know what was happening. He'd get interviews after fights. If you see it here and you have the courage to speak it, it will happen. Is his famous quote that's still all over YouTube today. And he did, man. He really did. He went on to just dominate everything in he was the face of UFC. He went on to make millions. Like, I don't care where you are in the world. At that time, everyone was a Conor McGregor fan. Like everyone. Like he really established, he developed his voice. He became such an amazing speaker, like in post-fight interviews or pre-fight interviews. He had so much charisma that he would encourage and motivate people, or he would break your face. And I remember all those motivational videos all over YouTube. And it was always him being humble and being raw and being vulnerable and sharing his story and sharing all the things that matter to him and talking about how his girlfriend, I guess it was the girlfriend at the time, his girlfriend supported him and that he will never leave her. He will always be there with her. It was just so inspiring. Like it was a Cinderella story, like a Cinderella Man, that movie. If you ever seen that movie, Cinderella Man, like it really was that type of story. And I think that's really what got us all hooked on Conor. Like he really walked the walk. He talked the talk. He found his place and we all kind of anchored down. That's where we kind of fell in love with just his character and his accomplishment and really what he stood for and what he really meant. And he gave a lot of people hope. 2014 or 15, I think it was 2015. And he signed to fight on with Floyd Mayweather, the boxer, right? And that was one of the first crossover MMAs to boxing way before Jake Paul era, right? So this was a big deal. And he went on to fight Mayweather and no, he lost. I mean, it's Mayweather here for fuck's sakes, but he made another, I think 100 mil. Like he actually hit a certain status. His family's was set at this point. Like he had it all. Like he made it. He accomplished his major goal. I'm sure he looked back at a certain point and just thought, like, shit, someone pinched me. Like, what is happening? And it wasn't too far after that time period where things started going wrong. They started going wrong for Conor. He started losing fights. He started, you know, he wasn't getting the W's anymore. It was just loss after loss. And at that point, when this was happening, almost everyone, their initial opinion was that like he just lost it. He just lost the fire. Like he's lost the hunger for growth. And on top of that, there were talks about possible behavior changes in him. And allegedly that was a result to drug use and alcohol and partying and all of this shit, you know. And then he would have this behavior with some of the losses in the fights with Dustin Poirier. I remember he was just screaming inappropriate things about his wife and he just kind of turned into a dick, and people saw that. They saw it in real life, and he had a big ego, and we never had really many humble moments from Conor anymore. All those inspiring moments where you talk to the kids kids, or, go into some sick kid hospitals and just be like a hero. Like, it was like all of that stuff faded away and things started just, I don't know, looking dark. And you could tell it was just a massive ego. He felt entitled. There was fights delayed because the UFC couldn't land a deal, allegedly, with Conor. And there was just so much shift, and so by the time 2017 to 2020, like, and obviously COVID and all that stuff in the mix, but like people were thinking, okay, this guy's a write-off, and they wrote him all off. He's overrated. And so, things progressed from there. And I guess I always felt to this day, like I think I do have a bit of a soft spot for him, because I knew, the kid he was to be able to accomplish, like, he was a good person. He still is a good person, I'm sure, but like what got him there was him being so humble and open for growth. That's what ultimately got him there. And I still see that when I look at Conor. And you know what? He's got a fight coming up. Obviously, if you're a fight fan, he's got a huge fight coming up. So we'll see what happens. But you're probably sitting there thinking, great, Scott, nice story. Well, where does ego fit into this? Okay, well, first let's set the record straight on what ego is, where it stems from and the effects it has on our mind. Well, the first thing that ego does is it clashes with just about anything, especially other egos. Ego clashes. Number two, and this is a killer, ego stops feedback. You're unable to accept feedback when you have an ego driving everything around you. And if you cannot accept critical feedback, you are done, because that strong ego makes it almost impossible to get productive criticism or feedback needed for you to actually grow and get better, especially in the sales arena, because what happens is you stay stagnant. You don't go anywhere. That's why I said you'll see some sales veterans that have been in sales for 20 years, but really have no more experience than 2 or 3 years. They've just done everything the same because of their ego. Not everyone. I'm not referring to everyone. I'm just saying, in my experience, especially selling sales to salespeople, I've spoken to thousands of salespeople in different industries. It's what's common for us to see. Yeah, but like unable to accept feedback, that's a big one for your sales career. That's going to have a major impact on your actual sales development if you can't take criticism or feedback. Number 3 is blind spots. Ego creates a tremendous amount of blind spots in your game. It hinders your ability to see your own faults or your limitations. And ultimately, that's going to lead to bad decision making. Number 4 is isolation. Ego actually will nurture and welcome isolation in your life, in your business, in your career. People with big egos find it hard to build and maintain relationships because everything's prioritized, on their own needs. And number 5 is ego is driven by insecurity, right? Crazy enough, but ego is the result of some level of insecurity. You need some level of recognition, right? Or self-assurance. And if you strip it back, it makes sense, because your ego only comes in when you stop growing. When you're driven and you're humble and you're focused on that development, there's no ego, because you're learning and you're applying and you're not limiting yourself. But number 6 is the big one. That's lack of growth, because you're not developing. You're not seeing anywhere where you need developing. You're just shutting that down. So there's no opportunity to grow. I've seen businesses go from, ground up to 7 figures, multi 7 figures, and then just plummet down because at some level ego kicks in. Number 7's a big one. Like Conor and some other people, massive ego drivers, they lose perspective of reality. It literally distorts priorities because that person is so focused on their needs. Everything else is just distorted. It is one of the biggest dangers of egos. When you lose a certain reality on something, that is danger. That is danger for you. That is danger for your business, for your development, everything. Like overall confidence, it's good. It's healthy. But unchecked egotism can lead to many negative outcomes, both for that person and people around that person. Like I see ego surfacing a lot in the sales arena. I've been there. I'm sure you've experienced it. We see it in small businesses that grow to successful businesses. That ego comes in down the line, and it's usually the person towing the line. It's usually the person that is there that just halts everything. It's sad. but it happens, right? Because the second ego comes in, all the success stops. But the good thing is, be conscious. You're now conscious of a dreaded ego. Make sure that you really have a temperature reading in some of these areas, because I'm telling you, it can come in like that. So just be aware. I hope you like this one. This was a little bit longer. And by the way, I don't want to see anyone creeping into this channel and, because the views aren't really adding up to the likes. So make sure you leave your mark. Don't be that guy, right? Don't take a candy without putting in a quarter in the jar. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.